Okay, so it's a little rainy outside. You may be able to hear the droplets on my roof since I have a tin roof, which I like. I think that's a good thing. So I have the generator running, so you may hear that also, and that's why we have these lights here. So, because otherwise it would be a little dark in here, I wouldn't be able to do this. So, since it's raining, can't do any work outside. It's a Sunday morning, and I think it's time for a little bit of relaxation. So what I thought is I've been asked to do some baking in my new oven here. I got it on, and it's coming up to temperature. Of course, this is not something I would normally do inside. I was going to start outside, but luckily I didn't because it's raining out there, and I didn't want to try and bring all this hot stuff inside without burning myself and spilling and all that kind of good stuff. So I have plenty of ventilation with this window here and that window over there and my bathroom window, so I'm good to run this inside. Not something I would normally do, but since I wanted to get this done, I thought I'd go ahead and do it. And since I can't work outside, that's what I'm going to do. I've done some electrical, which is probably what I'll do after I finish with this, because I'm sure I still won't be able to work outside. It's a slow rain, that kind of thing. So I guess it's going to be a little bit of a relaxation day. So here we are. So what I'm going to do is I got my oven up to temperature. I need to mix everything. I'm doing some brownies this morning, and I think I'm going to do a special edition and add some walnuts and pecans, something I've not done before. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just get that going so that when I make my mix, I can go ahead and just drop it in and carry on like that. So bear with me for a bit as we get going. My first time doing such a thing, so we'll see how it works. Not making brownies, but making them in a Coleman oven on top of my Coleman here. And I'm staying a little close to the oven here because it's a technical thing with my camera. I want to stay in focus. I'm on manual focus and all that good stuff. So we'll see how all that stuff works out. So let's get some walnuts going. Oh, these are already cut, so I won't have to. Okay, good. I thought I was going to have to cut them up, but I think I'm going to leave them chunky, just like that. Because of course this is all for me, and I love nuts in my brownies. Now let's see, the pecans, I may chop those a little bit because they're a little bit chunkier. Of course, I don't measure my nuts because I do them to my liking, and I like a lot. So I'm going to have pecans and walnuts in every single bite of these brownies because that's how I like to do it. So this is actually my first time cooking in my house here in the woods. I guess this is going to make it almost more like home when I start cooking. And I've said to myself and a couple other people that once I'm here and I get my kitchen all set up, of course, behind me is my kitchen. This right here will be my sink. I'll have countertop from here to here. The refrigerator will go here. Then over here will be my stove. Then I'll have this is the outlet for my vent hood over the stove so I can get all the air out because this is a small house, so I don't want to have a lot of bad air in here and smells of cooking. So this is going to be my little kitchen over here against this wall. I think I'm going to have a little fold down table that I can put 2 or 3 chairs around, and that's going to be it. So that would be my kitchen. So once that's up and going, like I said, I've said I'm going to do a lot more cooking. That's what I like to do. But the thing that I always think about is that out here, I'm totally off the grid, and I want to do a little bit of, or practice a little bit of sustainability, and that brings a little difficulty into the situation because you have plastic, all this kind of plastic that we get everything in. We have styrofoam, those kind of things. And I don't have a trash service. Burning these things is not really good. So I'll have to look at that as far as getting my produce in glass or cloth or something like that. In the old days, we used to get flour in a cotton sack, things like that. So I'll have to look into that because, as I said, I want to be a little bit more sustainable. So it's going to be interesting because it takes a lot more work to be sustainable as opposed to just putting everything in the trash and going with it and just, so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, we'll mix these nuts up just a wee bit so I can get a morsel of walnut and pecans in every bite. So that's what we got going here. So in just a second, I'll go ahead and start my mixture of the actual mix. I did go out and get a pan right here so that I can actually mix everything up in. I was going to do this a couple days ago, and of course, when I go to the store, I usually only have one thing in mind, and that's building materials and things I need to build a house. So I call myself going to get things to actually bake with, and I got everything that you could imagine except a pan to put it in. And of course, I don't have any aluminum foil, and a couple of people suggested to me, a good friend of mine, Tony, she said, well, why don't you make pans out of aluminum foil? And of course, I didn't want to do that because I don't normally do that. And of course, I didn't want to make a mess. So I just said, I'll just wait. So that's what happened. So now, since I have everything, I'm free to make this thing happen. Okay, so I'm going to put these over there. Put this over here since I don't need it right now. I'll take one of these mixers. Then I will take my chocolate. Now, of course, I'm not sponsored by Ghirardelli's, but listen, I've tried my brownie mixes, Ghirardelli's triple fudge. I'm stuck on it. I'm just stuck. And of course, you get a little packet of fudge in there to add in after everything is done. Once again, not sponsored, but hey, it's a beautiful thing. So if anybody want to have me sponsor them, that'd be a good thing. Hey, look, now I'm sounding like a YouTuber talking about sponsorship and all that kind of good stuff. But hey, it's real. That's how people get paid. I'm not at that point yet. So I'm actually just playing, sort of. So anyway, this is what we got going here. Got my mix in here. So this mix only calls for 1 egg. Of course, I bought 2. I bought more eggs, but I knew I was only going to use 1, but I bought 1 just in case I messed up this one and it's broke or something and I didn't get to the, our oven is right at 325. And that was my concern with this oven, is that would it maintain temperature? So right now it's right at 325 where I want it. So far, so good. And you just pop the door open like that. Oops, I better not do that because I don't want to let my heat out. This is not like your regular oven, so I'll just leave that alone. Okay, so we got our 1 egg there. So we're gonna do a 1/4 cup of water. Make my little trench in here. It calls for a 1/4 cup of water, but since I'm in Alabama, I have a cup of Red Springs natural flowing water. This is the water I did a video on a short time back where the water's been coming out the side of this mountain through this pipe that the county put in. For the last, I don't know, hundreds, maybe even thousands of years, it's said that the Native Americans on their quest, or when they're moving back and forth around, they would actually go to the spring and get water. And it still flows, and that's where I stopped to get it. So I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of that natural spring water. And I just bet you, this is going to make it taste so much better. All right, got that, and I'll have a little too. Good well water in Alabama on a Sunday morning. Raindrops on my tin roof. Bacon in the oven in the new kitchen. It's a beautiful thing. Let me stop wasting time here. Sorry. So, at any rate, it asks for a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. So we're going to do that also. And must remember to always put the tops back on because I don't want any spillages in here at all. So we got that going. It was a little cold last night, which is another reason I'm actually doing the baking. Because since it was kind of cold, I'm using the oven and everything to actually just kind of heat up the place this morning. Because it's a little chilly. I don't want to walk around all day with my jacket on. And since I'm going to be working inside, I did want it to get a little toasty in here. Make sure we get everything in here mixed up. Cooking is something that I don't do very much. I think one of the reasons that I don't do it is because when I cook something, I don't like it. Other people will eat it and say it's fine, but it doesn't taste good to me. And I can see one thing I have to change is these little spatulas. Really not strong enough. I need to get something a little bit stronger. I'm a little particular when it comes to how I do things sometimes, so, but it'll work this time because it's getting nice and mixed up in here and no powdery stuff going on here. So, got that done. Now, and it says don't mix it too much, but you just want to make sure everything is mixed up. So that's what I'm doing, making sure everything is mixed. So I'll go ahead and get my fudge packet going, and this adds a lot of the moistness to it, along with the vegetable oil also. Now, this pan here is new. It's a little smaller than it calls for. They wanted 8 or 9 inches. That's like a 7, but it's okay. I think I'll just have some thicker brownies. I don't know how that's going to affect my cook time, but this is kind of an experimentation anyway, so we will see what happens. I actually probably need a little bit more light in here, but it's okay. I'll make a few adjustments in post and just brighten it up a little bit, hopefully, without blowing out my highlights and all that kind of good stuff, all that good technical mumbo jumbo. So yeah, get this in, and once I do that, I'll start loading those nuts in. That's where the beauty comes in. It's getting those nuts in there and getting those mixed around. Saw a couple little powdery spots in there. But it should be fine, should be fine. Okay, it's time for nuts. Put a little bit in right now. See all those nuts drop in there. That's such a beautiful thing. All right, so let's mix those guys in. And get that nice and pretty. You know, there's nothing like being here in this house when it's raining at night. It's such a great sound for me anyway. I don't know what other people like, but for me, it's such a great sound. It actually rained the other night. I was sleeping so hard, I didn't even hear it. And that's one of the reasons I put tin on the roof, is because I like to hear the sound of rain, because that's the way it was when I was little. We had a tin roof on our house, and boy, every time it rained, you couldn't help but go to sleep. You're inside, you're sitting there, you're not doing a lot because there wasn't much to do back in those days. We didn't have board games or things like that. We didn't even have electricity for a long time, so board games would not be one of the things that we would have. So we'd sit there as it rained, it would come down, and we would just all fall asleep. It was a nice thing. That's what I wanted to recreate here, because that's what I am accustomed to from growing up. So that's a beautiful thing. Now, it's really not really raining, but it's enough to keep me inside, and I want to bake anyway. And that's pretty strange for me. Usually when I'm here, I'm always just concentrating on getting the work done. We are a little low. So let me turn that back up a little bit. Right about there. So we want to keep the temperature as close to 325 as possible. Now, the length of time that it calls for baking these brownies, I just kind of go by what I like. And sometimes I go a little bit longer because I like the edges just a little bit crunchy. And then the tops, I want those to just kind of get a little solid and be a little flaky. So I'll just have to play with that. And of course, I have my trusty toothpicks here so I can test to see how done they are. Now, I don't know that I need to do this in this pan because it says it's non-stick, and I have a lot of vegetable oil in, oops, a little spill there, sorry. There's a lot of vegetable oil in the mix, which you would think would help it keep from sticking. It does, but I don't like brownies that fall apart when you try and take them out. So I'm adding just a little bit more. It probably doesn't need it, but it's always best to be safe than sorry, I think. So there we go. I got to put a little marker on here which way to go to make it hot, or more or less, because I was just turning it the wrong way there. Oh, this is starting to look really good. I see all those. Wow, that's going to be nice. I like it. I like it. I like it. So it's starting to come up. So hopefully by the time I get everything out of here and put in, it will be just right. Wow, I can barely see over here, and I got light from the window. It's pretty dark. So slowly letting this fall in. It would really be something if I do all this and my camera for some reason stopped recording or something. It's done that before, unfortunately. And of course, once I get started with something, I don't want to stop and go check cameras and all that kind of good stuff. So it is what it is. We're going to just go through with this. And I guess the other part of it is that if it didn't record, that'll give me an excuse to do it again. But realistically, I probably won't, because that would be way too many brownies. And all these brownies here will be eaten by me or my brothers if I take them out of the woods back to their house, because normally when I make these at home, they don't even get a chance to actually cool off. And of course, I like my brownies a little bit cool so that they'll hold together better, because I've found when you cut brownies, when they're hot, they kind of fall apart. I don't like that. My family doesn't care. As soon as they come out of the oven, they go crazy. I used to try and stop them. There's no way, because they sneak in and they get them and it's all over. And so we just have to go with it. At least they like them. That's a good thing, because it's not a good thing when you're actually cooking and nobody wants to eat what you cook. That's not good. And like I said earlier, that's one of the reasons I don't cook, is I don't like what I cook, because to me it doesn't taste good. So let me push that back. We don't want that to fall on the floor, because this video would be for nothing if it falls on the floor. I'd be really disappointed, especially when we're so close. Now, I'll have to go outside and back to my rain barrels to get some water to clean this up, or at least rinse it out. I'll rinse it out there, bring it back in, and I have some water over here that's getting hot. It's already hot, so I'll make my dishwater with that, and then I will wash everything that way. So everything is out of here. It's all good. And things are in here, so I'm going to just kind of spread it around nicely. I think these are going to be really nice. This might be a new thing if it comes out the way that I want. Get a smaller tray. Well, if I'm cooking for more people, this is not going to work, because this will be eaten really, really quickly. So this will probably just be a thing I do here when it's just myself, my wife, and we wanted some brownies. Then we'll make a small container like this if we're using this. Now, I do have a regular size stove, but I don't want to bring it here because I'm not ready for it. I got a lot more work to do before I can actually get the stove and everything in. So our temperature's going right back up to 325. So let's open this guy up and get our goodies in there. Right there. I'll have to put on my headlight so I can actually see. And of course, I don't have my watch on. Let me grab my watch. It's in the bedroom. I try and keep my watch on because it monitors my steps also. And I like to try and get at least 10,000 steps in a day. And that's an easy thing out here when I'm working. So let's see, it's 11:19. So that is going to be the time that we mark for being here. But 300 is not bad. So as long as we stay between 300 and 325, I think we're going to be good, because it's just going to take a little time. So that's what we have. So that's it. So I'm going to stop the video now, and I'll come back as I check it, and then when it's done, and show you what the results are. Actually, I will probably just wait until they've cooled and I cut them, and then I'll show you what they look like. All right. Okay, it's been a few minutes, so I'm going to just kind of peek in and see where we are. We're right at 322, 23, as far as our temperature. So we're still in a good spot, and we've been in for about 15, 20 minutes or something like that. Actually, yeah, about 15 minutes or so. So I have my light on because I can't see in there, and I'm going to take a little peek to make sure. Oh yeah, looking good, looking good. It's baking a little differently, of course. So I think this is actually going to be good because I can see the edges are getting a lot of heat. So they're just kind of bubbling up a little bit. I think that's going to be a great thing. So we're just going to just kind of hang out and let it cook a little bit more. And I'm thinking it's probably going to be a little bit longer than 35 minutes. Not sure, but we'll see. But I think the box calls for about 40 minutes on here with a traditional oven. So this is not so traditional. Temperature is about the same. So we'll see. I'm going to say close to it. Maybe not, but we'll see. So I'm going to keep monitoring it and maybe start doing a couple other things. Oh, the thing I didn't tell you guys is that the surface that I'm actually baking on, this is my door. Yeah, I started putting it together before. So from here to here is a door. This is going to be the actually frame of the door that it's going to sit in. And this door is actually going to go right back here. I haven't had a chance to do much with it just yet because for one reason, everything is always piled on it. You know how it is when you actually have a surface like this, which is large like this, you put everything on it. So once I get a little bit more squared away in here, I'm going to actually get busy working on that so I can get all this stuff out of the way and put the door in so that I can clear it out. Because one of the things I'm dealing with on this build right now is that everything I have and everything that I'm getting a lot of times go in here, and small materials, big materials, most everything I've used, but there are a lot of little things around that just gets in the way. So instead of moving everything from corner to corner, I want to get everything out of here. So the next thing I do will probably build a storage place outside so I can just put all the materials in that I'm not using and just bring in what I will be using and things like that. So anyway, I'm going to stop the video once again, and I will come back when it's time. It's time. And I must admit, it's not going to be 100%, and I'll tell you why. Remember when I said I saw that it was cooking and the edges were a little, they were rising a little faster? Well, that was the first indication. So as it kept going, the edges started to, they started to smell like they were burning a little bit. So I actually took it out and I removed the grate that is sitting on a little higher because I wasn't sure if it was too close to the fire and needed to be farther away. So I'm about to take it out now. It looks like it's fine, but I know that there's going to be some burn spots in there someplace, somewhere. Doesn't look bad, but I do smell it, and I don't like to smell it. It looks good though. If you can see that, I put a little light on it. Shit, it's hot, hot, hot. Okay, sorry. But anyway, so that's what we have. I'm going to let it cool down a bit. I'll cut it, and I'm going to examine the extent of the burntness. It's not bad. I can see right there on some of the edges where it's a little brown. It's a little darker, but everything else looks pretty good. So thus far, it's okay. I think I'm pretty happy. So let's just let it cool down like I like, and I'll be able to cut it, take it out of here, and then we'll see exactly what we're dealing with. But so far, so good. There's going to be some parts in here that I'm really going to like. I can tell that. But at any rate, I'm going to let it cool for a little while, and then we will come back and I'll see what we got going. but it's really not bad. I think the oven is pretty good. So I think it's just operator failure on my part. So not so bad, not so bad at all. I'll have to make some adjustments and maybe do it again. I don't know, it all depends on how much time I have, but I know I'm not going to eat all these brownies myself because I'm trying to stay away from so much sweets and things like that. So, but anyway, it was a good first test. So I will let them cool down, cut them up, and take them out, and I will examine the bottom and everything and actually taste one and see what it tastes like. Okay, all is said and done. Since I was letting the brownies cool, I went ahead and took care of all the dishes, so that's taken care of. The pan that I cooked the brownies in are in there soaking so that it's all good when I get ready to wash it, but this is the end result. Where's my light? Where's my light? Where is my light? Here's my light. So I'll put a little bright light on that so you can actually really take a look. Voila! So that's what we got from there. Now, in being totally and perfectly honest with you, what I said about the edges, some of the edges got a little dark. This is one probably the darkest right there and under the bottom a little bit, but the others are fine. So what I believe the deal was is that I had to grate right here. I moved it to here, but as I was cooking, I took it from here and moved it up there. And I think from here on out, as far as baking is concerned, this is probably where it should be, because down here, it seemed that wherever the pan was on this side got a little bit more burned. Over on this side, everything was good. So whatever the reason is, over here is just a little hotter. So I moved it up here and finished the cooking process, and everything is fine. So I'm quite happy with the brownies, although I'm not going to, I'll probably have one or two, but I'm trying to cut back on my sugar and all that kind of good stuff. So that was a test that I thought worked out pretty good. So not only was it just a test in baking, but I really think that as far as I'm concerned, it pretty much showed me that when you're able to cook where you are, you can actually call it home. At least that's what I think, because if you're not able to cook where you are, where you actually lay in your head and stuff like that, to me it's not really home. Although people make whatever work however they can, but the way that I'm looking at it, since this is going to be a second home for us, my family and I, and me alone sometimes when I come out to work on it or whatever, since I can cook here, it seems like that has been the point of cresting where I can say, yes, I am at home because I can do everything here. I cook, clean, do the dishes. Oh, and the dishes, this is my dish pan here. The water from here I took over here mixed with some cold water because I always keep extra water here. So I got a couple gallon container here, got 7 gallons back there, and this is all that spring water I was just telling you about. And before I was calling it well water. It's not well water, it's natural flowing spring water, which is different. Well water is always in the ground. The water that I'm getting is actually from the ground, came up and is flowing. Not a big difference, but I just wanted to clarify that. So I took that water, mixed it with this water, which was hot, and put it in here, did the dishes, and of course, since I'm out in the woods, I had to go out back to my 255-gallon containers of water that I've captured from the roof. Actually, I'm capturing some now because it's still raining. So I went out there to rinse everything off and come back in and dry it and that kind of thing. This is one of the things that is always going to be ever present of mind, is out here until I get everything set up. Things are going to have to be done a little differently, a little bit more thought, a little bit more effort, because if the sink was here, all I'd have to do is wash and rinse them, done. But mix water, hot and cold, in here, wash, take it outside, rinse, come back in, and dry. So that's what we have living off grid in a small house in southern Alabama. So it's been a great test, and now I guess I should probably get on to a little work on the house. It is Sunday. Right now, oh, it's late. It's almost 1 o'clock. So I will get back into a little work, doing maybe a little electrical work on the inside, and just kind of hang out and listen to the rainfall on my tin roof. And hopefully it doesn't put me to sleep, because if it does, I'm going to be up pretty much all night. But if I am, I'll still have things to do around here as far as working on the inside. So the best of both worlds. So thank you for tuning in. And if you stayed with me this far, tell me what you think about the whole cooking process, what you think about the stove, if you know anything about it. I've seen a couple of videos on it before I actually bought it and actually used it. I think with a little practice, it'll be just like cooking anyplace else, because if you think about cooking in general, when I was growing up, my mother used a wood-burning stove. She made the best food. I think giving an opportunity to get accustomed to anything, you either will or you won't. She had to, because she had a family of 10 kids, at least 5 at each time, because the first 5 was gone by the time I came around. So I was with the second set of 5. So that's 7 people in the house that you have to cook for on a wood burning stove. You have to be good at that, and you have to know how to deal with that temperature. Just like this is even more modern, newer, and the gas is more consistent. It's probably easier to get used to than doing a wood burning stove. But at any rate, anything that we're giving any problem, there are ways to solve it. So I think this is a good stove. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next video.